Right. Minutes of meetings, what are they? They are a conventional method of recording meetings through written minutes, right? And meeting minutes are a summary of important information presented and the decisions made. So this is what's happened when you talk about minutes of meetings, right? They summarize the important information presented and the decisions made. And one person who is usually called the secretary of the meeting is assigned to write notes as the meeting progresses and then shares them afterwards. So what happens is they need to write notes. The secretary has to write notes and then shares the minutes afterwards, yeah, with the other members and the chairperson of the meeting. Now, of course, these are important to go through in the following meeting and hence need to be confirmed, right, afterwards. So usually for informal meetings, you will realize that there are informal and formal meetings. Sometimes for informal meetings, we have short notes. We don't have like formal minutes. But at other times, when you have formal meetings, you will have formatted minutes, right? Formatted minutes. So the format really depends on the organization, because the organization is the one that will, determine what kind of format is, important to go by, really. But the key information usually is about the same for all organizations, right? The minutes of the meeting have to indicate the responsibilities assigned during the meeting, the attendance, the times the meeting started and finished, the dates, right, of the meetings, the venue, the platform, right? Was it Google Meet? Was it Zoom? Was it Skype? Or was it what was used? Major decisions that were reached, subjects deferred to a later meeting. Maybe the subjects need to be discussed further before anybody could reach a decision, and hence what happens is they need to be discussed in a later meeting. Yeah. Summary of important discussions, names of those who contributed to major points. Handouts can be attached to the meetings distributed. So these are usually found in the minutes, right? And they're found in all organizations' minutes usually. Why? Because they are important to know, right? For any follow-up in terms of, the subjects that were discussed on or decided upon, right? It is important to go by due date. So these should also be indicated in the minutes. Right, how to write excellent minutes. An astonishing 71% find that meetings are unproductive and inefficient. So productive and meaningful meetings must have clear objectives. Okay, so what happens is I personally don't like meetings that are non-productive because I feel that they really waste my time. And so I prefer meetings that are short. Okay, short meaning that they don't go from 9 until lunch and then include lunch. I mean, I think that's just too much. We can't be talking for half a day, yeah, unless, of course, it is a very complex subject matter that needs to be discussed upon. It could also go by, collaborative research. Yeah, it could be matters which focus on collaborative research, collaborative writing, isn't it, right? So these could be more complex, yeah, especially the longer the documents, the more complex they are. So the longer the meetings have to be, and sometimes people even have meetings for days, isn't it? Because we need to cover, yeah, a lot of things, and we need to come up with a lot of matters, and then we need to come up with strategic goals for the organization, for example. Yeah? Excellent meaning meeting minutes enable you to track your meeting decisions and future actions in one place. So you as a secretary need to write your meeting minutes well, yeah? Even if meeting minutes has the word minutes in it, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to write for every single minute. You're supposed to be recording what was discussed in every single minute, because the thing is you should really pinpoint on the decisions made, the discussions made, and all the action points from the meeting, who's responsible, and was there any due date, yeah? Purpose of the minutes is for colleagues to update themselves if they were absent at the meeting, so they need to read something, isn't it, right? And the tool for you to is a tool for you to follow up on your colleagues' work, and that action points are completed on time. So if there are any tasks that were allocated, that were assigned, they need to be completed on time. Right? Advanced preparation for excellent minutes. Prepare the minutes template via Microsoft Word or Excel and share previous minutes. You can share minutes through a Google Drive. Yeah. You can send the agenda of the meeting beforehand for members to prepare. So how to tackle excellent meeting minutes during the meeting. So whilst writing, you need to stay objective and write the actions in the same tense. Plan the event for company A and take into account requirement X, target Y, and challenge Z, right? So you need to stay objective, write the actions in the same tense. You need to write in simple English, not bombastic, yeah? Which does not contain bombastic language because it's difficult for people to understand. In case what you're writing down is not an action or a decision, it's likely to be something that does not have to be in the meeting minutes. It's just pure gossip, perhaps. Yeah, so don't put it in. If your meeting attendees find it hard to reach understanding on a point, then it's a good idea to scribble this point, yeah, or these points or the discussions on a whiteboard, and then call it dead end parking spot to revisit it and determine whether or not more discussions need to be made at a later date. So during the meeting, make sure you don't assign too many owners for open tasks. Make sure one is confirmed and that's it, right? And then keep track of how much time you're spending on each agenda item. Don't spend too much time on each one unless it's really complex and important, and there are routine agenda items, isn't it? You know, things which talk about due dates of whatever assignments. So the thing is, you just need to make the announcement, isn't it? Yeah, and that is very simple. But if it's something that's complex, you know, then you need to have a longer time, you know, more space written on it, and also longer time for it. Yeah. Who's attending and how? Check beforehand the attendees of the meeting. If the videos are on, do a round of check before the meeting actually begins, right? So check beforehand, before the meeting actually begins, and see who's come, who's, you know, attended, and also take note of how everyone is present. For example, some might join via just a call, no visual, and anyone dropping off during the meeting, and you know, that kind of thing. So you've got to take note of these things. And you can use Google Meet, for instance, to capture the attendance, but sometimes it can be a problem because it doesn't capture everybody. So discuss with the chairperson beforehand, since not everyone is present in the room. Physically, little more organization and coordination are helpful when done beforehand. So for example, agree with the chairperson to ask everyone to speak their name before speaking. Ask in turn to avoid everyone speaking on top of each other. Yeah, take turns. Okay. Do a quick or clear summary before moving on to the next topic. Yeah, and so that you have captured the right information. Okay, and everyone is heard. Read the agenda well and any pre-material. Checking the agenda is an obvious thing to do before attending any meetings. You might still be able to take accurate minutes without doing so even, yeah. But the thing is, of course, it's good to read the minutes beforehand. When you do online meetings, you know, you want to know even more where you've been, where you're going. You need to know, you know, how comprehensive each agenda item should be, whether there are any holes. Sometimes as a secretary, you want to bring some things up, like you want to make clear of, you know, people who are in charge. You want to make clear of, you know, who's the person in charge of whichever project. You want to make clear of whether a decision has been made. So that these kind of things need to be guided by the agenda. So you need to have that next to you so that you can draft your minutes according to the agenda. Yeah? Reading any material shared by the host or the chairperson will also prepare you with unfamiliar terms and topics, and this is something which you must also know and read upon. Okay, so you can interrupt Okay, you don't have to wait until the discussion is over. If it's too fast and you need to slow down things because you can't capture everybody. So what happens is you've got to say, hello, can we please slow down a bit? We're going too fast. Or I can't hear you because, you're not very clear. I think you sound really, you sound like your voice is echoing, something like that. So you've got to make sure that everyone is clear and that you've captured the right information, of course, to double the checking to make sure that everything is perfect. Really, you can record the whole meeting. Yeah, but even then, some people who've been having Wi-Fi issues could not be speaking clearly, and this would also not be captured, isn't it, right? Or you could ask to repeat what they just said. Okay, it could be an internet signal issue, or there's too much background noise. Sometimes, of course, you hear people saying, mute yourself, and other things, or wait, we have to discuss about a certain matter first before you can ask questions, that kind of thing. So you do want everything to happen smoothly. If you can't hear them, the chances are other attendees cannot either, and they could be making an important point. And remember that the information needs to be accurate and clear, as for some meetings, such as board meetings, minutes aren't just a useful reminder, they also act as a legal requirement. So you've got to make sure that the information is accurately captured.